Hi, everybody. It's Alex Jarett with Technology Executives Club, and I'm very happy to introduce you to Prabir Chatterjee, who is one of our new, well, actually, you're not new. You've been on the board of advisors for a while. Prabir is on our board of advisors, and what's new to you is your new role. You are Chief Technology Officer and Chief Data Officer of a company called SPAATECH. And just before that, you were at Spencer Gifts. You were head of their data. I think your formal title was Senior Director of BI, Data and Analytics. And before that, you were a Global Director of BI and Analytics at Serva. And there's a long list, if you go to his LinkedIn, of other great roles you've played. But those are two big ones. And now I think you got the biggest one of all. You're growing this company, SPAATECH. So hi, Prabir.
Hi, Alex. Thank you. Bring me here.
Well, we're so happy to have you involved. I think of all the issues that's coming up now. AI is what's hot, but people wake up and they go, "Oh, my dad's going to drive everything." So to have you on the board to be available to people to actually talk about actually substantive changes that can help them drive their business is actually awesome. So welcome.
Thank you.
So what we do in these interviews is just let people get to know you a little bit, and then there's sort of three parts. And the first part is that we go over a little over your background. You have so many great experiences. And then lessons learned, some of the key lessons learned. And then also ask you questions like, what do you do when you first start with a company? Because you've had some great roles. And then areas that you'd like to help people with. So they feel free to say, hey, I'll give Prabir a call, or I'll just reach out to him. In addition to some of the content that you're going to be producing with us. And you've signed up for a program where you're going to be producing a lot of content with us. So I'm thrilled about this. So, all right, with that, does that sound all right?
That sounds right. Thank you.
Great. You have an office downtown Chicago, but you're in Naperville. Is it Naperville or you're in what town?
Bolingbrook.
Yeah, it's just right out there. This company that you're at now, tell us a little about what you're doing right now. You're at SPAATECH. What is SPAATECH? What do you all do? And tell us a little about that, just for context purposes, so people know what you're up to.
Sure. First of all, thanks, Alex, for all the great introductions. So I appreciate that. The SPAATECH is a data analytics company. So it mainly does the data analytics services for mid-size and large-size companies as well. The SPAATECH in actual means for is system, platform, applications, analytics. So basically, it tells about all three key areas of the technology, and any technology agnostic analytics solutions or data solutions for the enterprise. We do not go by any specific technology, but in these three key areas, system, platform, and the applications, and anything around that data analytics, we do service for the company.
Okay. So you do anything related to the process and the data is what I'm hearing. That includes AI, I would assume, right?
Or yes. AI is at the end game, but before you go to AI, you have to have the data and proper analytics in your enterprise before you go to AI.
Gotcha. So all right, well, we'll get back to SPAATECH and when they should pick up the phone and reach out to you. But I just want to give everybody a little grounding on your core background. Boy, you went to two universities, a bachelor's in physics and a master's in computer applications. And then after you worked for a while, you actually got a degree from Northwestern, from University of Illinois, you got your MBA, and you recently went to Carnegie Mellon and were in their CIO program, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so you like to take school. I couldn't
learning never stops, Alex. Learning never stops. I keep on doing that.
You know what? I'm going to tell you, there's a couple common threads we have from a number of our board advisors, and that's one of them. It's continuous learning. And so if anybody's taking notes here, which you should be, if you want to be successful, keep learning. So that's good. So you have that. And if I look at what you did before your last two jobs, which I would say are both very big jobs, you were at companies like IBM, you were senior consulting manager, so you really got some great training there. You were at a company called Data Core Systems. You were at Cognizant. And so you've been at some great companies, and you actually jumped up and became chief architect or director of technology at SP3 Analytics. And then all of a sudden, you're at Serva worldwide, and you're in charge of all their data. So that's a big jump. So were they a client of yours when you were at SP3 Analytics, or
no, not that.
Somebody found you, or how did you make that jump? Because all of a sudden you're at this worldwide company running all their data and logistics data? And go on.
Yeah, I started with the consulting when I came to United States after traveling to Europe. I spent, and most of the time it was the either development or the consulting side.
Gotcha.
And so that time I do have all the technology experience. I can do core technology analysis and any specific core technology you can talk about at that age. Then moved on to find out that yes, I can do technologically a lot of things, but I need to understand also the business so that I can serve the business at a different scale. And that's what I went to the business school in University of Illinois. And then subsequently, I'm going to other university, different program, is to get the corporate level and help the executives with my knowledge and experience on the technology, which I can bank on, right? And that's what I went to the corporate. And during that time, very first opportunity came to me is the Server Worldwide. They are close to my place, and that's what I joined the company.
Got you. And Server, for those of you who don't know, they were a logistics and a moving company, right? They moved people. What was their core business, Server?
Server has the core business is called mobility services for the large enterprise. Enterprise at the volume of Apple, Intel, ExxonMobil. Those are the companies they do the mobility services. It's under the HR human resources portfolio. That's their main core, but they do have also the additional sister companies like North American Van Line. So which is the logistical systems within the overall the mobility application.
Mm-hmm.
That's what their main core business. The Server is number 2 at that point. I do not know the current status right now. I know they have acquired few companies, but that's the number 2 mobility services in the world. Had a business around 85 countries.
So mobility service means they move people, right? They move people. So if you've got an executive need to be moved, team needs to be moved, they move them. But what was interesting to me when I first spoke to you about this and actually learned what you did, it says that you were head of BI and analytics. It wasn't just internal data, which by the way would be enough. You actually delivered the product that drove part of the service. There's a product that the customers use, and your role was to feed that product with the correct data. Is that accurate?
That's correct. Just before you go to that particular portion, just let you know that before I started the Server Worldwide, I didn't have any experience on that particular industry. It was completely new to me, but I nailed it. The main premise to the company when I joined it is to how we can give the robust data service for the client, for the enterprise who is hungry to get their information, finding out where they stand on their mobility service, which they are buying from Server. And that was my key objective at that point, to giving the service, data service to the business and also around the analytics. So first implemented the cloud-based analytics services at that point. And services worldwide.
That's, I'm glad you brought that up, because really, if you look at your background, first of all, your core training, you actually do have a degree in physics as well as computer applications. And then when you went to work, you worked at some great places, but I'm going to just point out, you were at IBM. First of all, you were a CTO at one company, and then you were at IBM Consulting, which I can't think of a better training experience than to be at a company like IBM.
Yeah, I learned a lot from there. Yes, I learned a lot from the large program management, project management, and also the dealing with the big scale of the project.
Exactly. Yeah. And they have a lot of these huge clients, and you were in there as a key consultant. But then from there, you jumped to become director of technology. So I heard what you said, which was, not only were you talking about BI, you actually wanted to say, how does this business work, and what kind of data ideally will drive this business, right? And that was your mission, was to help them create the right, I don't know the phrases, the right data streams or sets or whatever, so they could drive the business. Is that a good summary? Is that a
That's very good summary of it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. But it's your background that made you unique. And I think the other part that's really unique about your background, which I really admire, is that you realized that maybe you knew the technology and maybe you knew data, but you wanted to go out and get that degree so you knew how business actually worked.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's great. Because when I interview a lot of other very successful, like yourself, successful technology executives, there's two things that I hear a lot. And the first one is about their people. The second one is the one that you talked about, which is they understand the business needs first. And they, like, the best technology people don't get hung up on the technology. They're much more interested in what the business goals are and what the objectives are for the clients, right?
That's correct. And there is a is a challenge these days,
Yeah.
right? A lot of hypes comes in and the business jumps in all those hypes. As a technology executive, it is the duty to make sure they understand the different pros and cons of that jumping in and what could be the implications of their business objective. Are they going to spend a lot of money on the technology, not getting anything, or they really want to have that one now versus later? And what's the path to go there? So that technology executives, as it not just only people of his team, is surrounding all the people. It can be top up executives in a senior level, and also it can be your team whom they are reporting to.
Gotcha. So then after survey, you went to Spencer's. It's called Spencer's, but for folks who don't recognize it, that's Spencer's Gifts, and everybody knows that. And what's really interesting about that company is that you taught me that they also created and own the place that we all see in Halloween, which is called Spirit, right? Spirit Halloween, I think is the name.
Yes.
And that's the largest pop-up retailer in North America, I think, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So the fashion icons who do the pop-up stores got nothing on Halloween. Right.
Yes, that's correct. I didn't know that before I joined the company, though.
But you come into this company and they say, oh, by the way, we got this small thing called Spirit. You got to help us figure that out.
Yeah.
Now, what were the data challenges of that particular company? Because it seems to me that might be a little bit of a challenge to start a store from scratch every year.
Yeah, Spencer has organically grown the company, and then they added this new. I'd not say this more than 20 plus years on the Spirit Halloween. They have a two different way to handle the data. One is traditional retail brick and mortar store, which runs throughout the year, and then e-commerce business along with it. On the other side, there is another business which just starts for a few months and then wind down. So that means any data volume, if you can look at your curve, that you are basically going into the smooth, and then suddenly your spike is very high and then go down, right? And with a short span of the time, and that time is so crucial. Basically, that entire duration of that pop-up time is equivalent to a Thanksgiving holidays or Christmas holidays. So think about Christmas holidays and Thanksgiving holidays, stretch it to a longer period, and densely execute that one within a short time frame, within 2-3 months time frame.
So what did you create to help that process, or how did you support that process?
So we had a very first challenge was that data is very much dispersed around the different areas. So all businesses, they have their own pocket of data. How we can make this a integrated platform, integrated area of visibility. That's the first initiative or target was. And then after that, another thing is to make sure that all the executives who is doing. So there's a marketing department. Marketing has individual domain expertise. I mean, they are doing it in the Spencer side, they're doing also in the Spirit side. So how they both come and see the as the enterprise-wide information. So integrating the data was the important very first,
Oh,
and then also the scaling up that accessibility or the processing and implementing the different data applications quickly enough so that they can utilize it within this short time frame.
that is a big challenge. You have a structure that's there, but then they rent a store. They have to hire people for part-time. I'm sure they have managers that are part of the company that jump in.
Yes.
They have to hire people. So your systems are key to their success, I would imagine. It's the
Absolutely.
one constant.
Absolutely. I think, though I'm not allowed to say any internal things because since I'm not in the company anymore.
Yeah.
But I can tell in a absolute scale, if your employee is X in a regular Spencer time frame, and during that Spirit time, that X is become 10x the volume of the you are onboarding those people and then deboarding, letting the people out of the system. So that is the scale. Now, on the same time, also the volume of your shipping, material transactions, your inventory, these are all also increasing at the same scale. It generates a lot of data, and also it's a very tense moment because every activity it's immediately cost you $1. Right? If you miss a single day, that means, let's say, if you are not opening up a 5 stores or 10 stores, whichever is planned for a day, you are actually losing the money.
Yeah.
So that's what is very critical at that time.
So what was the big accomplishment there at Spencer Gifts then for you?
The challenge which we started, the big accomplishment is that we laid down the plan and executed it, and obviously bringing different technologies and bringing together all the different executives to make with them understanding about how this important data is. If they can talk about challenges, they can throw the marks in each other all the time. They say, okay, I don't get it. But at the end, making that working. So that was the things, and I'm glad that the company is still getting into that and laying on top of that. The foundational work has done.
That's great.
And progress has been made significantly. Now they are, basically they're building the everything on top of it.
That's great. So if you look back at those experiences and even some of the other ones where you worked and helped people, what are some of the common problems that you see when it comes to data and driving the business?
See, there is a lot of challenges there, right? If I have to pick up the top 3 of them, and if you can just ask anyone of the questions, they will say, okay, first thing is that you do not have the proper data quality or integrated data. Right? That's the first one they'll be talking about. And the second one they'll be talking about, do we have the enough technology and infrastructure built to support all the data movement or the data progress we have. Third one, they will say, okay, now you bring in all the new technology and infrastructure, and at the time, you improving your technical depth. So do we have the enough skill to work on it? The skill shortage. These 3 I will put always in the top in the not just in data analytics space, but also in every technology space.
Well, that's interesting. So when you talk about the quality of data, like somebody sees this video and they said, okay, I think I need some help with my data. Like what? So what would be the process that you would sort of walk them through?
The process wise, this is every people will be talking about the similar language. Oh, go and create these, Informatica. They are very good at data quality technologies, and there's tons of technology available in the market, right? But the key things is the understanding of, who is the owner of a specific data generated in the company, and do they understand the quality? So build the quality process there, not later. Because once the data is generated, let's say your ERP systems, and it generates data, and people enter the wrong data there, right? They enter wrong data. And then what happened is that data is now spread within the organizations like a fire. It goes to this place, that place, that place. But and every place, you cannot do the quality information. The process has to be in a very early stage of the data lifecycle.
How does your business background help you? It seems to me that would be huge because you can actually understand how the business actually works. Because not every IT person can say that. Like you understand the business KPIs, you understand the business goals. As head of data, do you do some kind of framework or chart of the company? Enterprise architecture, that's the phrase I'm looking for. Do you do something similar in terms of data, or is it a series of questions that you ask to the key stakeholders?
I'll not just only talk about the data quality side. The framework, which is mainly is to ensure that the company is having the data which is really usable, and usable in the sense in our entirety, not just only a one piece of the data. And because they are all complement each other and they contribute to the different insights when you are actually would be going to create it. The framework there is a multiple framework is available in the market, or multiple things. My main focus would be to how do we engage each of the executives in their perspective area and have a collaborations built through those questionnaires. Basically, if I ask the questions to finance persons and the questions to the supply chain persons, and then how they relate each other, that would be my main objectives, to talk through the executives to understand that their team is really understanding the data which they are passing on to the other department and to the enterprise. And that is my key main framework. It's a very simple, very easy,
and it works.
It works.
So you basically go through and you interview the key stakeholders, finance, manufacturing, shipping, whatever, distribution, whatever, whoever they are, right?
Yeah.
And you get an understanding of their part of the business, and you make sure that they get quality data. I think that's, in a nutshell, that's what you're saying. That's what I'm hearing you say. Yeah. We've talked before, I've heard data is the new oil. You have another phrase that you like to say. It's almost like you can have low octane data and high octane data. What's that phrase? I thought that was pretty good last time we spoke.
Yes, I think in the context of if the company wanted to move really fast on the latest initiative around the data and the AI, and they basically required to have, I would say, that solid, curated, good data to run their model to get the better insights and also better predictions of what they're going to act on, right?
Yeah.
That context, the high octane is the one is basically, you can have the data fuel, and if you don't refine it properly, then you will not be able to put it into proper, high velocity cars or high velocity technology.
Yeah. I love that metaphor, because if somebody is going to say, oh, we want to get the best data, we're going to install AI and we're going to go like this, you can't do it without the right data. Just like you can't put low octane gas into a race car, right? You have to have I know this sounds kind of silly if you just watch this, but it actually makes sense. You've got to have good data.
You've got to have good data. Without good data, you cannot implement any advanced analytics, machine learning,
right?
Or AI.
Any kind of advanced automation, basically, it's not going to work well without the good data. So this is the key, is getting your data correctly. Like if I said, what are the 3 or 4 key lessons you've learned in your career that you kind of bring into the room when you start to work with somebody?
A couple of lessons. One is not having the proper, I would say, the understanding about the difference between data, business intelligence, reporting, artificial intelligence. People mix up with this, but there is a commonality of all of this is the data. So that's understanding was not having all executives has that. it takes a while to even get them understanding that, hey, data is the most important. That's one of the things.
Yeah.
And the second thing is that
that's a big thing, by the way. I mean, for getting the executives to understand that is what that is actually a really big deal.
Yes.
Getting someone to understand how this data can help them.
That's correct. And then second things is that we see that a lot of initiatives sometimes is executive, oh, we have to go very fast and very quickly to get these things. That you can do a product design that way. You can create an application, you can do product design, you can have the Nike concept, okay, we have to get this product out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's do it whatever way you can do it, right? But data does not work that way. you have to, because it's involved to your entire organizations. First, you need to make aware. It's like a cybersecurity. Everybody has to be aware in how they will be creating their own password. Same thing is everybody has to be aware of it when they are working on a data. If they are the owner of the data, and if they are creating any subsequent data in their form, how they are creating it, is it helpful to the corporations? So that takes time. So and you have to be very methodical on that. You have to be very disciplined on that. So that is most of the time is missing. A lot of time is enthusiastically you start and then you fall off. That is the biggest lesson. Second, third one is which is common not just only this particular area. We try to bring the new technologies, and when you bring the new technologies, you kind of relied on something you do not have your inside knowledge or skills to run with it. You depend on either big consulting firm and things like that, spend tons of money. But even though you spend some money, but you did not build your own skill to sustain there and take the next level. And that one is always the missing point. I do see it's happened several occasions or several places.
That's interesting. So you have a model at SPAATECH, I've heard you mention this, where when you help people with their data, it's almost like your team is part of their team, which you've expressed as unique. Tell us about that, because that solves that third problem to some extent.
Yeah, so what we do is a skill gap which you might be having, or if you have a understanding of where the data is and how the data will be flowing through, we can walk through it. But at the end, what we'll do is we'll be sitting within your organizations, we'll be working with you together, making sure that once you walk out, you can be on your own. You can run on your own.
Gotcha.
You don't have to rely on anyone else. So anything is basically it's called the extended team model.
That's the model that you all deliver your service in, an extended team.
Correct.
Yeah, that's great. So we've talked theoretical for a little bit. What would be some practical areas that someone says, hey, I got to do a new BI, or I don't know, I got to do BI, or I need better analytics, or I have to massage our data. I mean, what are some of the top 3 or 4 areas where you say these are some of the practical projects where you all start to get involved in?
Yeah, very first thing is if it is the companies, a lot of time they are stuck with their own system. Very, I would say prehistoric. I'm not using that prehistoric term in the sense, but you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
They're stuck with certain business analytics or business intelligence tool that give them the limitations of extract out from the data which they already have. So my involvement or my team's involvement would be to first finding out whether they are really getting it, whatever they already have.
Yeah.
And enable that portions. And the next level is then expand that scope and to work with them, making sure that they really have converted their all other data elements, all other data within the organizations, and make it not necessarily that it will be bringing it all in place, but making sure that that is being accessible and curated to do the next level of the business analytics.
Okay, so that would be one area where they might say, hey, these guys can help. What would be other standard types of projects? Obviously, you work in terms of BI, you say data analytics. Is it pretty straightforward? Like,
but what I would say that ecosystems, I look at
yeah,
the data ecosystems. It's starting from where and where its executive gets hands on. What I was saying, my focus is having a support and executions of the projects at the data cycle level, data in the company level, from end-to-end data ecosystems. So in between, any projects can be learning. It can be a design, just data design. It can be a developing a metadata framework. It can be developing a cataloging framework. It can be a data integration framework, or creating the data integrations pipelines, things like that. Or it can be a visualization platform, and also even training the people on how they would do it.
That's interesting. So you've basically been so gracious with your time. So if someone is watching this and they just need advice in these areas, it sounds like that's an area, some of the ideas that you just mentioned is some of the areas that you can help people with, right?
That's correct. And I don't want to talk in this interview format, but I would say that one thing is I'll be glad to even sit down with them and go through their steps on the beginning of the journey without having to pay hefty amount of cost, which they will be paying it to the other vendors.
Right. I mean, that's a tremendous offer. I mean, with your background, if someone were going to come in from one of these big firms, that would be a project itself.
Yeah, and one more thing, Alex, if they come say that, okay, I got your reference from the Alex, they will get the heavy discount.
That's good to know. So anyways, all kidding aside, in terms of areas that they could reach out to you, you're on our board advisors. Part of this is people in the community can reach out to you. That's a really gracious offer that Prabir is making, if data projects are very complicated and big, and he's willing to talk to you, so do that. But you talk about areas of helping just from your landing page here. Tell me if I got these right. Technology modernization, data analytics, data governance, technology leadership in general, and vendor management and outsourcing. Are those pretty much some of your areas that you like to help people with?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It can be beyond. That's the areas we definitely would be, even if they require some help on building their core team, I'll be glad to do that. Even they need a strategy around the roadmap for the data, I would be glad to do that. Any places where my main goal is to see the company is not struggling to get their data working.
You're on a cool mission, Prabir. And for those of you watching who don't know Prabir, I've seen him in action meeting people. And Prabir, you're very gracious. You always are very helpful. And you always have said to me, relationship first. And
that's good.
Yeah, which I really admire, because not everybody's like that. So I want everybody watching this to feel comfortable to reach out to Prabir, because he will help you. And I think that's really awesome. Is there anything else that you want to add before I say thank you for being on the board?
Yeah, I think the same thing. Thank you for getting me in here and discussing it. I love to do more, talking with you in different areas, different subjects, any specific use cases on different industries. We'll be glad to discuss with him and discuss with the other board members as well. And thank you.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate that. And I will take you up on that offer. So folks, don't be surprised if you see more of Prabir on our channel. In the meantime, Prabir, thank you so much. We appreciate you being on the board of advisors. And everybody, thank you for watching today's segment.
Thank you.